Hey, what's up, boys? This is Contango coming at you from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. And today we're going to do a video, a US strategy video for G40 alternate universe. We haven't done one of these yet. I have done a few other strategy videos for the Germans, the Japanese, and the Russians. We haven't done one for the US so far. So I thought I would do one of those today just to give you an idea of something you can do, an opener for the first 3 turns. So what we're looking at right now is kind of the end state of an actual, well, not an actual game. I played both sides in this game, but I guess the end state after turn 3 for the U.S., assuming that the other nations have been played. So I went ahead and I played, Germany, Russia. I played all the nations to get it to this state, so you could see what it would look like in a real, kind of environment. Now, of course, it was just me playing against myself, but this is one theoretical way that this could go. But in any case, I think the opener I'm going to show you is going to be applicable, something that you could use. And this particular opener is for a split strategy. So the split meaning the U.S. is sending resources both to this side of the map and also over here. We got some resources going this way, and so this is going to be a split strategy, like I said, and so we'll talk a bit more about that. But first, let's talk about when I would use this. Um, and so I think this pairs well for a game where the Axis are going against Russia and China first. So Germany's going against Russia as hard as they can, and Japan's going against China as hard as they can. I think it gives you the freedom in this sort of a game to use this kind of a strategy. Also, what's very helpful is if the UK has the opportunity to do a Taranto raid. You might be familiar with that from the normal G40 game, but let's just back up the history for a second here to take a look at that. So this is at the beginning of the first UK's turn. And so you can see here, Germany has put their one cruiser down here to beef up this fleet and put another fighter here off this airbase to beef up this fleet as much as possible. But the UK has this cruiser over here left. They also have this carrier and this tactical bomber left. The Japanese didn't take it out. They went elsewhere. And so that gives the UK a good opportunity to take all of this out. That's what that kind of looked like in this case. And at the end of it, the Italians will retaliate against that and probably take out all of these UK units, which is costly, but it really does set them back. And so that's just a good general strategy for the UK. I know this isn't a UK video, but just wanted to touch on that. So in these kind of games where the UK is able to do that, I think that pairs well with the US doing this split sort of strategy. They have a little bit less to worry about from the Italians. The UK is going to be strong over here. Ideally, they're building some fleet after they've killed off a lot of the Italian fleet, and so you're basically trying to really squeeze Italy with this. And so that's kind of when to use this. I guess the goals, generally speaking, are to really spread the war out. As the allies, you start with more units, you start with more income, and so your goal is really to spread the war out into as many places as you can, spread the axis out, because if you can whittle it down into as many small fights as possible, you have an advantage. You have more units. In this is turn 3, of course, but in this example, the allies have 416 units. The Axis have 330. Of course, we're counting France in that, and they're not in the war yet. But in any case, so you're spreading things out down in this area. Also, you've got some fleet up here. So that's one, I guess, goal. Another goal is, you're putting pressure on this northern island that the Germans want to have, making them consider if they want to build more fleet, which ideally they wouldn't. They want to have as much going towards Russia as possible. So they would like to ignore you, but you're giving them a problem where they might have to build more fleet up here. You have enough down here to squeeze out the Italians, put a lot of pressure on, this factory, these factories, get the Axis worried about a landing happening in here. So you've got enough to take care of that. We've got 5 transports here, 3 carriers, got about 11, I think, other ships plus our planes. And then up here in the north, we've got 1 carrier, 2 transports, and 6 other ships plus our planes. The other benefit of this is that we don't waste any money on factories. So as you can see, we've got our 3 major factories here. You start the game with 3 miners, and they get upgraded when you are at war, which is going to be, generally speaking, turn 3. And so often people will build a factory down here, sometimes a minor, sometimes a major, or they may upgrade this one on the first turn to get more production on this side of the map. In this strategy, you don't need to do that, so you're not wasting those resources. I'm not saying that's never a good idea. I'm just saying in this case, you don't waste the resources, which is good. And the other big benefit of this is that we're making the UK as rich as we can, and we're doing that by clearing out this area, which is a national objective for them. We're squeezing out Italy and letting the UK have these islands down here, which are worth a lot of money. And we are a couple other national objectives that are in play are there's one for having kind of this western coast of Europe and this island here. There's another one for having 5 pro-allies, which you've got. You got this. Likely they have this one. UK could get this one. That's 2. 3 if you get PA7, and then you need 2 more. So you've got 1 here, 2 up here, another one up here. So anyway, we're getting a lot of national objectives in play for the UK and trying to get them rich. And you can see here they're already at 47 IPCs, and that's they haven't even had their 3rd turn yet in this example. So easily, looking at more than 50 IPCs a turn, which is great for them. So those are kind of the goals. And like I said, so this is kind of the end state. And so what I want to do now is bring up a fresh TripleA game and just show you how to get to this state and what you're going to buy and how you're going to move to get here. So let me bring that up. So this is a fresh game. Now I've set all the other nations aside from the US to be run by the AI and not do anything. So as you're looking around here, you'll see that nothing has really moved. They might have purchased new units, but nothing has actually moved. So all we're doing is working with the US here. Okay, so first turn purchases. We are going to get 1 carrier, 3 transports, 1 destroyer, and 2 subs, and have 1 IPC remaining. So that's our buy. We don't have any combat moves to make, so we can skip that. We're not in the war yet. So non-combat moves. First thing we're going to do is grab infantry and a tank off of Hawaii, send our fleet up here to Sea Zone 55, along with these couple of ships here. We're going to take a fighter and a tactical bomber, send them up here. There's going to be a carrier that we purchased here at the end of the turn, so they'll have a landing place. Just see my notes here. Okay, so we want to have this infantry. All these head down, along with this mechanized infantry. This mechanized infantry can head over here as well. Fighter and the tactical bomber from US 13. This AA gun can come down along with this guy. These 2 mechanized units can head down. These 3 will head over. We are going to pick up this infantry and artillery with the transport here. Head over to Sea Zone 2 and drop them here. This guy we will pick up on the next turn with this transport. cruiser, we'll head over here. You do need to watch out for the German submarines where they're at. There's a good chance there's one or two of them right here. So watch out for that. You don't want to leave anything susceptible to that. And we are going to purchase a destroyer right here on the first turn. So keep that in mind. Destroyer and the sub can move over. Fighter and the bomber. This AA gun over there. Infantry and mechanized infantry can go here. Battleship and carrier here. These two planes can go here. We're going to keep 4 ground units on the coast. There's going to be 2 transports that appear here at the end of the turn that we purchased. So we want them to be available to get picked up. You could potentially leave these over here. Very unlikely to get put into the war on the second turn. So you might as well send them over here, and then you've got your option of if something changes and you want to send them east, you can. If not, they still have time to get back over here, and they're sitting at the naval base. So you're good to go either way. Okay, so that's where we are after the non-combat moves. Let's go ahead and place our units. Going to get a warning here that I don't have a place for these planes to land, but that's fine because I'm going to build the carrier, a transport, and a destroyer right here. And the remaining 2 transports and 2 subs are going to go here. So that's how we look at the end of the first turn. I like this spot right here, C-zone 55 for the fleet, and on the next turn I'll take the rest of this down here as well. It's a good spot because you have 3 different directions you can head in. You can get down here on turn 3 if you wanted to and land on the Japanese mainland if for whatever reason they didn't keep enough to counterattack you there. You can get 1, 2, 3 down here and drop here if the Japanese decide to move forward into UK 16. So you're threatening that. You also can get over here. C-zone 58 is a popular place to be. And you can even go 1, 2, 3 and get here to 84 and take either of these 2 islands if necessary. So good place to be. Probably doesn't matter on the first turn because you're really unlikely to get pulled in on the second turn, but might as well be there anyway. Okay, so let it play through the rest of the nations, and we're back to the US on the second turn. Gonna purchase 2 carriers, 3 transports. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong spot. 1 transport, 1 destroyer, and 2 subs. Yep, 2 carriers, 1 transport, 1 destroyer, 2 subs. That'll be our second turn purchase. Okay, like I mentioned before, we're going to send all of this fleet down here with this one, but we do want to load those transports. So we're going to pick up artillery and mechanized infantry and 2 infantry. Head down here. We want to incorporate this plane. It could have gone here and left the other one, but we might as well just send this up here. It's fine. So we want to pick up this infantry that was waiting for this transport. Oh, and I just realized I'm moving on the combat move. I meant to be moving on the non-combat move. So let's just say done. Now we're on the combat, the non-combat move phase. These ground units can come down here. These ships can come down here. Those units can all come there. I like to march these guys all the way across. They're going to be good to have here for pickup on turn 4. At least the infantry and these AA guns can come down here and help the UK. I find some people send them south here and they just end up sitting there for a long time since often France is being left out of the game and they can't go anywhere. You could also go north with them, but you have tons of production up here. So you might as well take the units that started the game down to this side this is where your production is squeezed. So I like to send them that way. And we're going to ignore this fighter. This came up because the Japanese haven't attacked into China. So chances are you're not going to have that in reality. So we're just going to ignore that for now. Let's pick up these ground units and send them over here. Send these planes with the carrier. And I think that's everything. Let me just check. Yeah, got a plane. Okay. So that's the end of the non-combat moves. We're getting an error again because we need to place that carrier. So we are going to put 2 carriers and 1 transport here. The other destroyer and 2 subs can be placed up north. Just 6 units this time. And then we'll wait for it to cycle through to the US again. Okay, so US turn 3, we're going to be in the war. There's an oddity with AAA where, you see how these are still minor factories? It doesn't upgrade them until you actually get to the combat move phase. So right now it's going to give me an error that I won't have enough production, but that's fine. The factories will upgrade, but we'll see that in a minute. So I'm going to buy 2 artillery, 2 infantry, 3 transports, 2 destroyers, and 1 sub. So 10 units, got 1 IPC left. I click done, gives me that error. You purchase 10 units, you can only place 9 of them. Do I want to continue? Yes. Then I'm going to declare war. And then when I click done here, all those factories get upgraded. So we'll be fine on the production. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and move these units to where I had them in the original example. Your game is obviously going to be different than that. So I had this whole fleet coming down here. Maybe the Italians have too much for you to do that. So maybe everything needs to go here, or maybe you got an opportunity over here against Japan. You're going to have to decide that for yourself, but this is just going to be one particular example. So I don't think I'm going to attack anything right now. It would be common to attack this island. You've got to kind of make a judgment call on if the Germans have enough air force to come down and kill whatever is here, if it's worth you going after this. You do need it for that one UK national objective, but there's no reason you have to get it immediately on the 3rd turn. You can wait a while. So you also want to probably make sure you can retain this territory. You don't want the Italians or the Germans coming and getting it from you and knocking out that naval base. So you might want to drop units here instead of this and take care of this later. So that's what I'm going to do. We don't have any German or Italian subs or anything to kill right here at the moment. I mean, this sub is right here, but we're probably wouldn't in reality be right there. So we're just going to skip straight to the non-combat moves. Head down here with this fleet. Pick up the pro-allied. Head down here with this fleet. Protect this UK territory. We'll stick 1 fighter on there, 1 bomber as well. And then these planes can follow the carriers. Got a couple, excuse me, 3 mechanized infantry that can come down here. AA guns can head that way as well. Those units can come over. Going to keep the regular infantry here for pickup with the transports on turn 4, rather than heading them down here to help the UK. Going to take this bomber, send it over in this direction. Pick up all these ground units, head down here. And these other small ships are going to head this way as well. Okay, so that's where we were at the end of the, or at the beginning of the video, I guess. We had that example. Let's flip back to that. It's just it's better to look at something where the other nations have been played. So that's how we ended up here. So you've got, like I said, you got a small sort of fleet happening over on this side. In this case, this is probably endangered to the Germans. So we might have to block with the Anzac destroyer or something like that. But it is going to contain the Germans a little bit. They're going to be not wanting to get away from their air base, and head over here and be in range of this U.S. fleet. We've got sizable force here and here. We've got 5 transports going on this side. So it creates a number of problems for the Axis. We can drop in Western Europe here, and that's part of one of the UK's national objectives. We've also got enough to come after this German factory right here. And we've even got pressure on the Italian mainland here. We've got 5 transports. We've got some planes as well. And so Italy is going to be kind of scrambling a little bit to get back to protect Rome here. And similarly, we're putting a lot of pressure on their fleet. They can't be heading out here too much. They've got the US fleet chasing them down. If they come in this direction, they've got the UK fleet. So they're basically going to get squeezed out of here and either need to suicide onto this fleet, maybe suicide onto this fleet, or maybe they're just going to, head back up here or here, try to stay close to their air base. Who knows? But they're not going to be making a lot of money, and we're probably going to be able to get these islands back from them and hopefully make the UK rich. So that's another, I guess, problem we're creating. And with the pressure on both of these, Western Europe and the Italian mainland, what you're aiming for here is, you may not have enough as the US to just take a territory and stay there and be safe from all counterattack. What you are probably going to need to do is land and then have the UK back you up. So it's going to have some UK transports around and lots of planes. So up here we've got 1 transport, 4 planes plus a bomber that could land in a territory, and along with 10 right now ground units of the US, plus we've got 6 more coming. So the UK can kind of back a landing of the US. And similarly down here, if Italy were to back up to Rome, the US could potentially come and land here, and the UK's got a transport plus 5 fighters, they can land here. So that's kind of how you want to play it. You're going to need, because you've split the US, into 2 areas, you're going to need some help from the UK to make a landing, but you're also making them a lot richer with this sort of layout. So hopefully they can handle that. Yeah, so we've got some support up here for this Anzac city. That's helpful, along with pressure on the northern island. And we're forcing Germany to make a decision on whether they, want to build more fleets. How far forward can they get this fleet going? They've also got to be careful of the UK coming up here to see Zone 23. Got a factory here. They could build a couple of carriers, potentially fighters, whatnot, and they're in range of this UK fleet, which isn't big enough to kill them right now, but could potentially become big enough. And they can't. This is a strait, so the UK can come through here, but Germany can't go back through. So the UK is safe from them, but not vice versa. We're putting a bit, the other, I guess, advantage here is we're putting a bit of pressure on Japan, which does have a sizable fleet, but at the very least, we're forcing them to maybe suicide their transports onto these islands if they want to get them. And they do want to get them. There's a national objective. So maybe they're going to suicide their ships to get the islands, or maybe they're going to have to do it one at a time instead of splitting up 2, 3, getting 2, 3 at a time. They're going to be worried about this US fleet. So at least giving them, having forcing them to stick together. Yeah, so Italy is pretty stifled, and the UK is making a lot of money, hopefully, getting these southern islands, getting their national objectives. And the other thing that goes along well with this sort of strategy is some more production down here in what we call India. You start with this factory. In this particular case, the UK has made a minor factory here. They could also upgrade this to a major, either at the start or later, and put pressure on, Italy here. Maybe get a lot of transports, put pressure on Italy here, and also stop Japan from getting all of China, which is a national objective for them. Because normally Japan is wanting to head up in this direction, try to get pressure on this city and force out the Chinese contingent here. So with some more production of the UK down here, they can kind of stop Japan from getting all of China and force them to have to go and worry about that. So that's kind of the pros. I'm not sure how much else I wanted to mention. We talked about how this is a good staging area. One other thing I didn't mention in this particular example, we had the opportunity to send one of the Russian transports. I mean, they're both still alive, but the one decided to go over here and be prepared to pick up a couple of U.S. units. That's why I made these 2 infantry. They could also be something else, maybe I think we had an extra IPC left, so we could have got another transport and maybe traded in this sub for a couple more infantry, and just did it with a U.S. transport instead. Something else you might want to think about is using these U.S. transports to pick up one or two of these UK units to drop here for PA7. I think we talked before about one of the national objectives for the UK is to get 5 pro-allies. So this is one here, a couple available up here, this one and this one. So they definitely have that in range. And I can't remember if we mentioned this before or not, but you do want to keep track of how many carriers you're getting. The US only starts with 9 planes, not including the one that kind of showed up down here when I was running through. So you've got 9 planes to work with. So don't go making a 5th aircraft carrier if you're not making planes to support it. And we've got 4 in this scenario, and that's probably enough for this. 3 over here is probably enough for now. There's not too much going on with the Italians and the Germans on this side. Got a lot of their Air Force stuck up here. Right now we only have 1 over here, so might be worthwhile purchasing another one to come on this side. But yeah, keep that in mind, that don't overproduce carriers. And the US always loves transports. So in this case, we've only got 5 over here and 2 on the other side. So 7 total right now, excluding the 3 we purchased. So there are ways to get more out, and some of what we purchased could have been more transports, but you've also got to consider how many ground units you have available to fill them. So anyway, so I think that's everything I wanted to mention, just to wrap it up. So this is kind of a good opener, especially if you're playing against the Axis going against Russia and China first. Fairly efficient, gets you some pressure on both sides. Of course, you can make the decision as the US to go all on one side. Typically, you want to go towards Europe if you're doing that, and that's a good way to go too. But this is kind of another opportunity or option to keep in your arsenal. So give it some consideration, see if that's something you want to do. Let me know what you think. If you have any comments, obviously there's some changes that could have been made to the order and exactly what I purchased, but at least this gives you a general idea and direction of where you could end up going this type of route. So hopefully that's helpful, and if you're still watching, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.